Hello everyone and happy Sunday. Today is 22nd of September. Now it's about 12 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you in this update. And I will start with this report from Kommersant newspaper that Russian air defense systems intercepted about 15 drones during the previous night. No reports about casualties on the ground or any more or less significant damage. If any update during the day, of course, I will share additional information on my Telegram channel. TASS news agency is reporting that in Sumy region, yet another US-made HIMARS multi-launch rocket system was destroyed. I have video on my Telegram of destruction of this HIMARS. If I'm not mistaken, Iskander missile was used to destroy that system. Also, RT is reporting that Russian militaries hit a ship that was transporting Western-made munition to Ukraine, and this was reported by Russian Defense Ministry, which added that it has conducted another series of strikes on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Also, in a statement on Saturday, the ministry claimed that Russian warplanes, drones, missiles, and artillery forces destroyed two Ukrainian ammo depots and struck a dry cargo carrier with missiles and munition provided to Kiev regime by Western countries. Officials did not say how badly the ship was damaged or where the attack took place. Although Ukraine heavily relies mainly on the Black Sea and their Danube routes to receive sea shipments, they don't have any other options really in this regard. My guess is that this vessel was targeted on Danube River, although it could be Black Sea also. Unfortunately, Defense Minister didn't provide more specific information. Interfax is reporting that emergency situation was declared in Tikhoretsk district of Krasnodar region due to yesterday's drone strike of the Kiev regime on one of their facilities there. My guess is a munition depot was targeted. And as a result, there was a fire, explosions, and yesterday I reported about evacuation of 1,200 civilians from this area. And later on, emergency situation was declared. Well, this is not the first time when a munition depot, if it's a munition depot, by the way, Russian Defense Ministry or officials didn't specify what exactly caught fire, what is exploding, but my informed guess is that that was a munition depot. And if that's the case, then probably we can say that lately, last several days, these strikes deep inside Russian territory on munition depots significantly increased. There was incidents in the Tver region just recently when munition depot was targeted. Now we have this report that most likely munition depot was targeted in Krasnodar region, and due to this increase in such strikes, very wild rumors start circulating on internet that in Tver region, for example, some nuclear explosions had happened because Russia was storing nuclear warheads in that munition depot, which is false, by the way, nonsensical rumor, absolutely, but unfortunately some people believe in that, because there was videos that were circulating on internet about huge explosions that, visually some may mistake for explosion of the nuclear warhead, but this is not the case, right? Nuclear warheads are stored in areas that probably only few people know, right? Also, rumors started circulating that these munition depots were biggest in Russia, which is also a nonsensical rumor. Who determines who knows which munition depot is the biggest one or medium one or small one? Russia has hundreds of munition depots, possibly thousands of munition depots, right? So that rumor was also nonsensical. Also, even some big channels, by the way, start pushing this narrative that these strikes, for example, in Tver region was conducted from NATO member states, from Baltic states, for example. Latvia was mentioned. And I'm skeptical of that also because even though I have no respect for this extreme Russophobe leadership of Baltic states, Russophobes and Nazis, but they are literally Nazis, right? And the fascists. And I have no respect for those individuals that are formally in charge of these Baltic states, but I don't think they are suicidal, right? So therefore, I don't think they will allow Kyiv regime to use their territories to conduct strikes deep inside the Russian territory, because after all, it will only take like 10 nukes, by the way, and there is nothing left from Latvia except radioactive dust. Right? One should realize that. It only takes like 10 nukes, and from Latvia, there is only radioactive dust left. Same can be said about Lithuania, same can be said about Estonia. So I don't think they are that suicidal, that crazy, right? So I'm skeptical that these strikes towards Tver region was conducted from NATO member states. Probably Kyiv regime sent some DRGs into Russian territory, and the launches of those drones took place from Russian territory, from within Russia. Although, of course, we need more information from official sources. Unfortunately, Russian Defense Ministry is not really providing precise information about these incidents, right? And that's why rumors, these wild rumors, are beginning to circulate. That's one of the reasons. Also, some big channels are kind of pushing narrative, or are on the same page with the narrative that it's not a drone strikes that Kyiv regime is conducting, but a long-range missile strikes with Western weapon systems. I am skeptical of that also. First of all, because during their attack on Tver region, there was several reports on Russian segment of internet that locals were hearing drones, sound of drones, right? And drone engine sounds, it's a propeller engine usually, and the propeller engine sounds very differently that turbofans of or engines of their cruise missiles, right? Or ballistic missiles. Very different stuff. And locals noticed drones, by the way. They see drones. And some sources even reported quite precise information that about 15 drones were noticed by locals during that strike on munition depot. If it was munition depot, yet again, by the way, Russian officials never confirmed none of it. But let's guess it was munition depot, right? So I'm skeptical of that rumor also, or that narrative that been pushed by some bigger channels, that this is long-range or missile strikes deep inside the Russian territory by Kyiv regime. First of all, Kyiv regime is unable to conduct these long-range missile strikes deep inside the Russian territory with the Western weapons, and Moscow was very clear on that. And if and the Russian president, foreign minister, official permanent representative of Russia in UN, Russian ambassador in US, many other officials were very clear that if these long-range missile strikes deep inside Russian territory will happen, that will mean a direct attack of NATO on Russia. And Moscow will respond accordingly, right? So Kyiv regime unable to do this. And secondly, because we all know how crazy Western ruling class is and Western ruling elites, I would not be surprised if in upcoming days or weeks there will be some long-range missile strikes deep inside the Russian territory, and I guess Moscow will not ignore that. I guess Russian Defense Ministry will provide at least the basic information on that to public, and Moscow probably will respond accordingly, as it was stated earlier. So let's see. Situation is definitely tense, dear friends, because we are talking about possible direct confrontation between NATO and Russia. And whenever I see comments, and I read comments, as you know, dear friends, I'm quite actively engaged with the community, and always was. And I read comments, and whenever I see these comments that are why Russia is not responding harshly, and why Russia is not doing this and that, well, what we expect from Moscow, dear friends. I mean, I'm asking this question to members of our community that are in favor of some strong steps being taken by Moscow. Do you really want to see Russian nuclear strikes on New York, on Washington, on Dallas, on Los Angeles or San Francisco, on Chicago? I don't. Do you want to see Russian nuclear strikes on London, Liverpool, Birmingham, Glasgow, Edinburgh? I don't. Do you want to see really Russian nuclear strikes on Paris, on Berlin, on Brussels, on Warsaw, on Madrid, or Lisbon, or Rome, by the way? I don't. I don't want to see any nuclear strikes. And therefore, my belief is, I mean, we can get emotional time to time, we as ordinary humans, and it's okay. It's okay. But if we were in charge, right? If we were high-ranking officials, we would have no right to make any decisions based on emotions, isn't it? And Russian leadership, let's be clear on that. Russian leadership is demonstrating unbelievable level of courage, really, responsibility, and not just towards the Russian citizens, but towards humanity itself. Because one step, by the way, we are just one step away from full-scale nuclear exchange, right? So we should keep that in mind. I don't think anybody from our community or anybody in this world really wants to see how post-apocalyptic world will look like. I certainly don't want to see it. So whenever there is talks why Russia is not doing this and that, I mean, because Moscow acts responsibly, and we all know about. I'm calling Western ruling class existential threat for humanity for a reason, right? Because they are posing a existential threat to all of us, and they are constantly escalating, pushing towards exactly that nuclear exchange, right? But we should be glad that Russian leadership is taking cautious approach as much as possible and as long as possible. There might be certain situations, by the way, when Moscow may really have no option, may be left without any other option but to use some extreme force to bring these so-called elites in the West to their senses, but it will be very last option among others, right? So that's my take, dear friends. That's my take on this situation. I still hope that some cool heads will prevail in the West, if there are among elites any adequate people left, and there will be no next level of escalation like long-range missile strikes deep inside the Russian territory. But as I said, Russian retaliation against NATO's aggression against Russia. Russia's retaliation with extreme force will be very last option that Moscow will consider. That's for sure. It is what it is, man. RT is reporting that Zelensky is accusing US media of lying. So Vladimir Zelensky has dismissed the Wall Street Journal's reporter on Ukrainian casualties in the conflict with Russia as a fake news. On Thursday, the Wall Street Journal wrote that on Tuesday, by the way, Wall Street Journal wrote that around 80,000 of Ukrainian troops were killed and around 400,000 more were wounded. The journal cited their confidential Ukrainian estimate from unnamed sources familiar with the matter. Reporters asked Zelensky on Friday to comment on the Wall Street Journal's estimate. 80,000, that is lie. The actual figure is much lower than what has been published, significantly so, Zelensky claimed. And of course, this is all nonsense, dear friends. That's how narratives are created. Wall Street Journal published a false number, false figure. They know they published false figure, and Zelensky now is claiming that that number is fake. Casualties on side of Kiev regime is significantly lower, and that's process of creation of the narrative. And now Western so-called media will use Wall Street Journal as a source whenever they will start talking about casualty numbers among Kiev regime's forces. And they will articulate with this 80,000 figure, when in reality Kiev regime most likely already lost about 800,000 military personnel. 800,000 military personnel, and some sources even are suggesting that Kiev regime already lost 1 million military personnel. But that's the prime example how false narratives are created, by the way. You know, RT is also reporting that well, this despicable individual, former Prime Minister of United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, has argued that Russia must be forced to accept defeat, even if doing so costs $1 trillion. Russia must understand that it's over and that Ukraine will not concede any territory for peace. Former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has argued for this goal to be achieved. However, Kyiv will need long-range weapons, NATO membership, and $500 billion. Johnson added. Yet again, Johnson is representing Saturn forces he is a puppet of the Western ruling class, true rulers of the West, right? And we can take him, we can laugh at him as much as we want, because he is a laughing stock, isn't it? He's disgrace of humanity and disgrace of United Kingdom, for sure. But same time, because he is a puppet of true rulers of the West, he is voicing opinions of these true rulers, right? And one may argue that that's what Western ruling classes intend to do. Allocate another $500 billion for the Kyiv regime and basically sacrifice just about everybody that ever had Ukraine's citizenship. And still has. That is what is going on there, friends. And because of this attitude, you know what, I wouldn't be surprised really if NATO would make some changes in its foundational documents, and if they will even accept Ukraine, and then will basically clear the path by doing so, clear the path for direct involvement of the NATO in this conflict. Maybe that's what is happening here. Maybe this is the plan, because remember yesterday, it was yesterday, isn't it, or day before, I reported that according to Bloomberg, Zelensky will ask Biden during upcoming meeting between these two criminals that Ukraine should receive an invitation to NATO, and Biden should support in that. And of course, all these initiatives, by the way, are not Zelensky's initiatives. These initiatives are prepared by Western ruling class and then given to Zelensky, right? So even though it sounds, I mean, as kind of fantasy, but we should always keep in mind how crazy Western elites, Western ruling class is. And therefore, as I said, chances of that may be very low, but probably there is still chances. And that's why I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised at all if NATO will make some changes in its foundational documentations and accept Ukraine. And then NATO will get directly involved there into conflict because of fifth article, right? Maybe that's what they are planning, by the way, but who knows? Who knows, man? Time will tell. This is agony, by the way, on part of Western ruling elites. This is clearly agony. They know they lost. They lost. Western ruling elites were dominating over the world for the last 3 to 5 centuries, and they are losing their domination. They are losing their domination, and the Western ruling class is getting crazy about that. And they are in agony. Last news agency is reporting that Israeli armed forces conducted strikes on about 180 different targets of Hezbollah in Lebanon. Significant increase in escalation between Israel and Lebanon, Israel and Lebanese Hezbollah. And today we also receiving this information that Lebanese Prime Minister cancels his UN trip aimed escalation with Israel. And this morning reports came in that Hezbollah launched about 100 missiles, more than 100 missiles towards Israel. And the first time, by the way, since 2006, Hezbollah launched missiles further than 20 kilometers from the border. And according to reports, Haifa military-industrial complex facilities of the Israel in Haifa area were targeted. Israeli sources reporting that majority of those missiles were intercepted, but seems like not all of them, because on internet there are many videos and photos that confirm that some of the missiles definitely made a landing. So significant escalation. Some may even argue that another Israeli-Lebanese war has already started. Which is unfortunate, by the way, which is very unfortunate, because it seems like situation is not just getting worse and worse, but moving towards a regional war, as I predicted many times earlier. And my understanding is that Western ruling class wants to provoke regional war in the Middle East, to disrupt shipping in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait, and by doing so cut China from Middle Eastern energy sources. And that's why Western ruling class is pushing this region towards the war. You may agree with me or not, but that's my reading of the situation there. That's news agency is reporting. I already spoke about this. Let's continue with this news. RIA Novosti is reporting that Erdogan stated, the president of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan stated that he is ready to meet with the president of Syria, Bashar al-Assad. Ankara lately definitely shows interest in normalizing relationships with Syria. And it will be good if Turkish leadership will find strength in itself to apologize for Syrian people for all the destructive actions that Turkey was involved in against Syria. in past decade also, more than a decade. That would be helpful. But let's see. I mean, it is at least it is clear that lately Turkish leadership, military and political leadership, is moving towards normalizing relationships with Syria. RIA Novosti is reporting that US, India, Japan, and Australia are calling for reforms in of UN and their security permanent and new countries to become permanent members of their Security Council. Well, I don't know about Japan, by the way. I don't know about Australia. I don't think these countries really have to be members of their permanent members, among permanent members. But India, yes. India for sure. India, South Africa, Brazil, yes. They should be members of the permanent members of the Security Council, in my opinion. And UN definitely needs some reforms, definitely. But will it happen? Will it happen? I don't know. I don't think so, because world is divided, isn't it? There is a collective West and there is the rest of the world, and this divide is becoming more and more wide and more clear for everybody. And therefore, due to this inevitable creation of the two blocks in this world, UN probably will become even more paralyzed as an institution and would not be able to operate effectively, despite all their statements about necessary reforms and that kind of stuff. But topic itself interesting, and I was very clear always that of course it does make sense if number of permanent members of Security Council will increase in UN, and at least India, South Africa, and Brazil will join ranks of permanent members. But definitely not Japan, by the way. Definitely not Japan. No way. Australia, because it's a continent. Yes, there might be argument there that all continents should be represented. So I can see that argument. But Japan, no way, man. No way. One should keep in mind that UN was created after Second World War, and we should never forget, and we should never forgive what Nazi Germany and Japan did to civilians, to tens of millions of civilians worldwide. So therefore, no Germany in among permanent members of the Security Council, and no Japan there, ever, until this organization is exist. Although I'm a bit skeptical of UN. I don't even understand why this institution exists or what it achieved, really. Some may argue that there are some humanitarian programs that are working more or less okay. Maybe, but humanitarian activity can be done by countries on their own also. They don't really need UN for that, right? Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that, well, France has new government, and the foreign minister become let me give you his name, Jean-Noël Barrot, some extreme Russophobe, by the way, someone that was calling for more aggressiveness towards Russia. So yes, I guess relationships between Moscow and Paris will further deteriorate after this appointment. Although, I mean, relationships between Russia and France are almost non-existent at this point. So, can it get any worse? Probably yes, and we will see soon. let's see what kind of steps this new foreign minister of France will make. But it is unfortunate, dear friends, it is unfortunate that some 15-20 years ago, Russia, Germany, and France were very close to create this trilateral alliance, economical first of all, and somewhat political, that will be really force for stability and security on Eurasian continent. At the time, Germany was under leadership of Schroeder, I believe. In France, president was Chirac, right? But then, unfortunately, Washington and London get involved there in this situation. Of course, they would not. They were very much not happy because relationships between Russia, Germany, and France were getting better and better, and they use their tools to manipulate with their political class in Germany and France, with public in both countries, and they put in power in Germany Merkel, and in France Sarkozy it was, isn't it? And the rest is history. Rest is history. Now we are where we are. Almost no diplomatic relationships are existing right now between Russia and Germany or Russia and France. Unfortunate, really unfortunate, but so much opportunities have been lost, by the way, for humanity, I will say. RT is reporting that all of Europe does business with Russia, according to Hungary's foreign minister, Peter Szijjártó. A significant number of companies in the EU continue to discreetly do business with Russia, despite the bloc's sanctions. Hungarian foreign minister Peter Szijjártó has stated, "Here I would like to disappoint their idealists, as the situation is that everyone in Europe is doing this," Szijjártó said in Budapest on Friday. "The difference between us and others in general is that we speak honestly and openly about this issue. All the Europe does business with the Russians, but some deny this. We don't need that." Szijjártó added that Hungary does not agree with the sanctions, but since this is EU policy, Budapest respects them. Hungary typically votes specific EU proposals if they seriously harm national interests. He said Hungary typically vetoes specific EU proposals if they seriously harm national interests, he said, adding that developing economic cooperation with Russia is one of those interests. So yes, Szijjártó is correct, dear friends. Hungary is open and no games, while other countries, they try to shame Hungary why you are doing business with Russia, while many enterprises in those other EU member states are doing business in Russia with no issues and make good buck on that. So it's not even double standards, by the way. This just shows you level of degradation or degeneration of the political class of the Europe in general. I mean, it is factual, isn't it, that vast majority of the EU member states or NATO member states are run by imbeciles, right? Formally run by imbeciles. In reality, of course, decision makers are in shadow and they are just giving orders to their puppets that they put in a position of power, but those puppets clearly are imbeciles, by the way. You listen to their statements, you listen to their interviews, and you get a clear understanding that those people are uneducated morons, right? And moral bankrupts, by the way. Absolutely despicable individuals. And only few exceptions, by the way, in collective West, and the leadership of Hungary clearly is an exception. And that's why they have respect worldwide. Not just Szijjártó, foreign minister, but also Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban. Same can be said about current leadership of Slovakia. They find their strength in themselves to prioritize national interests of Slovakia even if that means a confrontation with the Brussels or you know, ruling elites in the West or ruling class of the West. But in general, of course, decline of the political class in the West is just unbelievable. Also, a couple of more news, dear friends. RT is reporting that Indian state oil refiners seeking long-term deals with Russia, according to reports. So India's state-owned oil refiners are in talks with Russia about clinching long-term supply deals. The news outlet Business Standard reported this week, citing sources at the country's Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Agreements could reportedly be sealed as soon as next April, when the new fiscal year starts. So great, by the way. Great. India, of course, is a strategical partner of Russia, and of course, Indian businesses, state-run businesses or non-state-run businesses, they should use this opening. They should use this opportunity to establish themselves on the Russian market, to establish good business relationships with the Russian companies, and make good profits, by the way, by reselling basically Russian goods to EU member states that officially many of them refuse to buy Russian goods directly. So, you know, good luck to India in that regards, by the way. You know, Russia this bilateral cooperation is beneficial for Russia. It is beneficial for India. It's all good. And, well, if EU member states are not mind to pay like significantly more for same stuff, then, you know, let them pay. I mean, it's their decision. No one is forcing them, isn't it? All these sanctions was imposed on Russia by them, by Western ruling elites, right? So yes, good news, by the way. Good news that cooperation between Russia and India is increasing, including in energy sphere. Also interesting news, dear friends, from US, that Mile Island nuclear power station will resume work of its first nuclear reactor to supply with electricity none other than Microsoft Corporation, by the way. Deal was achieved between the operator company of this nuclear power station and Microsoft Corp for 20-year energy supply, which is quite interesting, isn't it? That a nuclear power plant, that, by the way, this power plant experienced the worst nuclear incident in US history, which happened in 1979. But well, this first nuclear reactor was operational until let me give you it was operational until 19, yes, it was operational until 2019, but then due to issues with the cost effectiveness, this power plant was this reactor was shut down, and as a result of this new agreement, it will start generating electricity once again. And this is important because this information clearly shows possible path towards which civilian nuclear energy sector may develop further, because of the creation of these giant multinational corporations. I would not be surprised at all if at some point those companies will start purchasing nuclear power stations to provide themselves with their electricity. And when it comes to Microsoft and many other corporations, IT corporations, by the way, main volumes of electricity for them is going to cloud, right? They have a huge facilities where these old servers are stored to store data, database, you know, they are databases, isn't it? And they consume immense volumes of electricity, right? Immense volumes of electricity. And just recently there was reports that I believe it was Intel or Microsoft and some other companies that were intent to invest some $30 billion to build up additional this databases, data centers, and with creation of AI, by the way, demand on our data centers increases immensely, and some experts are even speculating that AI demands so much energy that it would not be cost effective. At some point, these companies will just run out of sources to fund these data centers that are not really making any profits for them. It's that costly. And the way to minimize spendings, I guess, is to purchase nuclear power stations, right? And I guess in next 10 to 20 years, we will see first precedents when private companies were purchasing, not the states, but private companies were purchasing nuclear power stations for their internal use. And by the way, when it comes to data centers, I believe Russia has huge potential on that, isn't it? Because data centers, also cryptocurrencies, crypto generation, because many areas on the northern latitudes of Russia are permafrost, right? And we all know how winter goes in vast majority of areas of Russia. And even in the summertime, by the way, there are certain areas where temperatures are, not too high, and conditions, natural conditions are quite good to create, data centers, because it will be cost efficient. So let's see. I believe many investors here in Russia already are looking at this matter, and I guess maybe not the Western companies, but companies from rest of the world may use the Russian data centers to store their data. If such opportunity will be created, why not? Anyways, let's continue, and well, I will end this update on this news that TikTok deleted several accounts of Russian Sputnik and RT media outlets, which is well, quite surprising. I did not expect from TikTok to go this crazy. I don't use this platform, by the way, TikTok. I don't even know how this platform works, but maybe I should. Because to promote my channels, TikTok may be a good opportunity, although it's blocked in Russia, by the way. TikTok is blocked in Russia, and probably with VPN you can access it or something, but I don't know. And anyways, yes, information is that TikTok deleted several accounts of Russian Sputnik and RT, which is well, unfortunate, really unfortunate. But this is a trend lately, isn't it? This is trend in Western so-called social networks, social platforms, and also platforms that are trying to gain sympathies of the Western ruling class, like TikTok in this case. Okay, I believe Sputnik and RT will be okay without TikTok also, but news is quite unfortunate. And that's it for today's update. Hopefully you will find it informative, interesting, and useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. As I'm always saying, likes and comments are only way we can at least try to influence algorithm, especially on YouTube. Although if you are watching this update on Rumble, your friends, please also click that like button, leave some commentary. Hopefully one day in the future my Rumble channel will develop, our community on Rumble will get bigger. Let's see, and if you can, please share information about my channels with your friends in real life or on the internet. And finally, if you like my work, if you think me and my channels deserve to exist in this field of news and political commentary, then please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal or Boosty, or by subscribing to my pages on Patreon and Boosty. That will be great support, of course. All the links under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. I will just add that monthly subscription on my Patreon starts from $5, and there is plenty of extra content there, dear friends. From Monday to Friday I have second updates on Patreon and Boosty. And on Boosty, subscription starts from 500 rubles, which is a little more than $5 by current exchange rate. So yes, this is it. All the links under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Have a great day and take care. See you tomorrow.